Sophia Adams had sworn off dating apps, blind dates, and every other modern romantic invention. But somehow, her best friend Mia had talked her into the most cliched dating scenario of all, a speed dating event at the trendy downtown hotel, where singles rotated through tables every 5 minutes in search of true love. Or at least, that's what the flyer promised. Sophia knew better. "I can't believe I let you drag me here," Sophia muttered, tugging self-consciously at the hem of her navy blue dress that Mia had insisted brought out her eyes. "This is like cattle auction but for lonely people." Mia laughed, flipping her red hair over her shoulder. "That's the spirit. Nothing says date me like comparing yourself to livestock." The event coordinator, a bubbly woman with an iPad and too much enthusiasm for a Tuesday night, was arranging name tags on a welcome table. Sophia reluctantly pinned hers to her dress, already calculating how soon she could leave without hurting Mia's feelings. 20 men, 5 minutes each," Mia said, scanning the room. "One of them has to be decent. It's just statistics." "Statistics also say I'm more likely to get struck by lightning than find love at one of these things," Sophia replied, but she was smiling despite herself. At 29, with a demanding job as a pediatric nurse and a tendency to lose herself in novels rather than nightlife, her dating prospects had admittedly become limited. The coordinator's voice rang out, instructing the women to take their seats while the men would rotate. Sophia slid into chair number 7, arranging her face into what she hoped was an expression of polite interest rather than outright skepticism. The first 4 speed dates were exactly what she'd expected. A too eager insurance salesman, a guy who talked exclusively about his CrossFit routine, a recently divorced father of 3 who mentioned his ex-wife 14 times in 5 minutes, and a sweet but painfully shy accountant who could barely make eye contact. When the bell rang for the 5th time, Sophia was ready to feign a medical emergency. But then he sat down. "Hello there, I'm Isaac." His voice was deep and warm, with the slightest hint of an accent she couldn't quite place. "Sophia," she replied, automatically extending her hand. When their fingers touched, she felt a small jolt. Isaac Vega was striking tall with broad shoulders, dark hair that curled slightly at his temples, and eyes the color of aged whiskey. His charcoal suit was impeccably tailored, but he'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, giving him a relaxed confidence that contrasted with the nervous energy of the previous candidates. "So, Sophia, are you enjoying this unique social experiment?" The corners of his eyes crinkled when he smiled. "If by enjoying you mean silently plotting my escape, then absolutely." The words slipped out before she could stop them. Instead of being offended, Isaac laughed a genuine laugh that transformed his entire face. "I'm considering the windows, but I think we're on the 14th floor. Rookie mistake. Always check the exit routes before entering a speed dating event." She found herself smiling back at him, noted for future reference. "Though to be honest, my assistant signed me up for this. Said I needed to meet people outside the office." He made air quotes with his fingers. "Your assistant has that kind of power?" Sophia asked, intrigued despite herself. "Elaine has been running my life for 8 years. I think she actually runs the whole company but lets me believe I'm in charge to protect my ego." Sophia laughed. "What company is that?" Isaac waved his hand dismissively. "Nothing exciting. What about you? What do you do when you're not being coerced into speed dating?" "I'm a pediatric nurse at Memorial Children's Hospital." Something in his expression shifted. That's actually incredible work. My nephew was treated there last year, leukemia. He's in remission now." The practiced small talk evaporated, and suddenly they were having a real conversation about her work, his family, their shared love of old jazz records, and their mutual hatred of cilantro. "It tastes like soap," they said simultaneously, then laughed. The bell rang all too soon. "That can't have been 5 minutes," Isaac said, checking his watch with a frown. "Time flies when you're plotting escapes," Sophia replied, surprised by her disappointment. Isaac hesitated before standing. It was really nice meeting you, Sophia. You too, Isaac. As he moved to the next table, Sophia found herself watching him. He glanced back once, caught her looking, and smiled. She quickly turned her attention to the next man sitting down, but her thoughts remained with table number 5. The rest of the event passed in a blur. By the end, Sophia had spoken with 20 different men and remembered perhaps 3 of them, clearly Isaac being at the top of that list. Participants were instructed to mark their cards with the names of anyone they'd like to meet again, and the coordinator would share contact information if there was mutual interest. Sophia hesitated, pen hovering over her card. Well, Mia appeared at her side. Any keepers? Maybe one, Sophia admitted, quickly writing down Isaac's name before she could second-guess herself. What about you? 3 possibilities. I'm playing the odds, Mia grinned. Come on, let's get a drink at the hotel bar and you can tell me all about Mr. Maybe. At the bar, Sophia nursed a glass of Cabernet while describing her 5 minutes with Isaac. He was just different, genuine, not trying too hard. Well-dressed, you said. Mia wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. Probably has a good job. We didn't really talk about work much. He mentioned a company but didn't elaborate. Honestly, it was refreshing not to hear someone's entire resume. Mysterious, I like it. Mia lifted her martini glass. To potential connections. They clinked glasses, and as Sophia took a sip, she spotted a familiar figure at the other end of the bar. Isaac was standing with a group of men in business attire, looking slightly out of place despite his own formal clothes. He seemed to be trying to extract himself from the conversation. Their eyes met across the room and he smiled that same genuine smile. Sophia felt heat rise to her cheeks as she returned it. Is that him? Mia whispered, following her gaze. Yes. Well, go talk to him. Sophia shook her head. The rules say we're supposed to wait for the coordinator to match us if we both expressed interest. Mia rolled her eyes dramatically. Since when do you follow arbitrary dating rules? Since I don't want to look desperate by chasing a man I spoke to for 5 minutes. Just then, Isaac excused himself from his group and began walking in their direction. Sophia's heart rate doubled. Ladies, he greeted them with a nod. Mind if I join you? Actually, I was just leaving, Mia said, standing abruptly. Early meeting tomorrow, Sophia, don't wait up. She winked unsubtly before gathering her purse and practically skipping away. Subtle friend you have there, Isaac commented, sliding onto the now vacant bar stool. Mia believes in direct action, Sophia replied, trying to ignore the butterflies in her stomach. I admire that philosophy. He signaled to the bartender. Another Cabernet for the lady and I'll have the same. You're breaking protocol, you know, Sophia said. We're supposed to wait for the matchmaking process. Am I? He looked genuinely concerned for a moment. I can go if you'd prefer to follow the rules. No, she said quickly. I'm not really a rules person anyway. His smile returned. Good, neither am I when the rules don't make sense. Their conversation resumed as if the 5-minute time limit had never existed, flowing naturally from topic to topic. Isaac was easy to talk to, asking thoughtful questions and listening intently to her answers. There was something refreshing about his focus, as if nothing in the world was more important than their conversation. So your friend Mia convinced you to come tonight? He asked. Practically blackmailed me, Sophia admitted. She had photos from our college spring break trip that I'd rather not have circulated. What about your assistant? Actual blackmail or just strong persuasion? Isaac laughed. Elaine said, and I quote, your social calendar is embarrassing for a man of your position, and I've taken the liberty of scheduling some human interaction. She then reminded me that she knows all my passwords and where all the corporate skeletons are buried. Sounds like Elaine and Mia would get along splendidly, Sophia said. What position was she referring to? Isaac hesitated. I run a company, nothing too exciting. Before Sophia could press further, a loud group entered the bar, more businessmen in suits, clearly continuing from some event. One spotted Isaac and called out, Vega, there you are. The Japanese delegation was looking for you at the reception. Isaac's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. "If you'll excuse me for just a moment," he said to Sophia, "I need to handle this." She watched as he spoke briefly with the newcomer, his posture shifting to something more formal, authoritative. They were too far away for her to hear their conversation, but the other man's body language changed from casual to almost deferential. Isaac returned looking apologetic. "Sorry about that. Work follows me everywhere." "No problem," Sophia said, curiosity piqued. "Japanese delegation sounds serious. Just a business matter." He guided the conversation back to more personal territory. "Tell me more about your work at the hospital." "It must be challenging but rewarding." For the next hour, they continued talking, laughing, and sharing stories. Sophia learned that Isaac had a younger sister he adored, played classical piano, and volunteered with a literacy program. She told him about growing up with 3 brothers, her dream of opening a pediatric clinic in an underserved neighborhood, and her disastrous attempt at keeping houseplants alive. What she didn't learn was exactly what he did for a living. When they finally parted ways, exchanging phone numbers directly rather than waiting for the official speed dating results, Sophia felt a mixture of excitement and caution. Isaac Vega intrigued her, but his vagueness about his work nagged at her. "I'd like to see you again," he said as they stood outside the hotel, waiting for their respective ride shares. "Properly, not just speed dating or running into each other at a bar." "I'd like that too," she admitted. "Dinner tomorrow? I know a great place near the river." Sophia hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Tomorrow works." As her car arrived first, Isaac opened the door for her. "Until tomorrow, Sophia Adams," he said, the formality of his words contrasted by the warmth in his eyes. "Until tomorrow, mysterious Isaac Vega," she replied with a smile. On the ride home, Sophia couldn't help but search for Isaac Vega on her phone. The results made her nearly drop her device. Isaac Vega, CEO of Vega Pharmaceuticals, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country. The company that, coincidentally, supplied most of the medications to her hospital. The company that had recently donated a new wing to the pediatric oncology department. The articles described him as a pharmaceutical prodigy who had taken over the family business at 28 after his father's retirement and had since doubled its value. At 34, he was one of the youngest CEOs of a Fortune 500 company. His estimated net worth was in the billions. "Holy crap," Sophia whispered to herself. "I just had wine with a billionaire." When she arrived home, Mia was waiting with ice cream and demands for details. Sophia recounted the evening, ending with her online discovery. "You're going on a date with a billionaire CEO." Mia shrieked, nearly dropping her spoon. "This is like a movie," "He didn't tell me," Sophia said, frowning. "He deliberately avoided telling me. Can you blame him? He probably wanted you to like him for him, not his money or status." "I guess," Sophia conceded. "But I don't like starting anything with secrets." "It's not a secret, it's just information he didn't share yet," Mia reasoned. "Give the guy a chance. If he's awful, you never have to see him again." The next day at work, Sophia found herself distracted, checking the clock more often than usual. Her colleague Nina finally called her on it during their lunch break. "Okay, spill it. You've been somewhere else all morning," Nina said. "Hot date," Sophia hesitated, then nodded. "Speed dating, if you can believe it. No way, those things actually work." "Too early to tell," Sophia replied. "But he seems different." By the time her shift ended, Sophia had almost convinced herself to cancel. What could she possibly have in common with a billionaire CEO? But curiosity won out, and she found herself changing into the simple black dress she'd brought to work, applying a touch of makeup in the hospital bathroom. Isaac's car, a sleek but understated luxury sedan with a driver, picked her up outside the hospital. He was waiting inside, dressed more casually than the previous night in dark jeans and a blue button-down that made his eyes seem even warmer. "You look beautiful," he said, a touch of awe in his voice that seemed genuine. "Thank you," she replied, suddenly shy. "So, where are we going?" A small Italian place by the river. Family-owned, best Nakai in the city. The restaurant was indeed small and charming, with only a dozen tables. The owner greeted Isaac like an old friend, leading them to a corner table with a view of the water. No special treatment, no fawning service, just a warm welcome that suggested Isaac was a regular customer who treated the staff with respect. Once they were seated with menus and wine, Sophia decided to address the elephant in the room. "So, Isaac Vega of Vega Pharmaceuticals," she said without preamble. "That's the nothing exciting you run." Isaac's expression shifted from surprise to resignation. "You looked me up." "Of course I did, wouldn't you?" He nodded slowly. "Fair point, I'm sorry I wasn't forthcoming, it's just when people know who I am before they know me, it changes things." "Changes how?" she pressed. "Some people see dollar signs instead of a person. Others assume I'm arrogant or cutthroat because of my position. A few are intimidated and never act natural around me." His eyes met hers. "I wanted you to see just Isaac, not the CEO," Sophia considered this. "I understand that, but starting with omissions feels off to me." "You're right," he said, surprising her with his immediate agreement. "No more omissions. Ask me anything you want to know." Over antipasti and wine, Sophia learned that Isaac had never planned to run the family business. He'd studied molecular biology with dreams of research, but when his father had a heart attack 6 years ago, he'd stepped in temporarily. When it became clear his father couldn't return, he'd committed to the role. "I found I could do more good directing research funding and company policy than I could as a single researcher," he explained. "We've shifted focus to developing treatments for rare pediatric diseases that other companies ignore because the profit margins are smaller." "That's why you donated the new oncology wing," Sophia realized. "Partly, and partly because of my nephew. Seeing what he went through, what all those kids and families go through." His voice trailed off, emotion evident in his eyes. Sophia found herself warming to him again. "That's why I became a pediatric nurse. Those kids face the scariest things with such courage. How could I not want to help them?" Their conversation flowed easily after that, touching on everything from their favorite books to their most embarrassing childhood memories. Isaac was intelligent and thoughtful, but also self-deprecating and funny. He listened as much as he talked, genuinely interested in her opinions and experiences. By dessert, a shared tiramisu, Sophia had almost forgotten about his wealth and position. Almost, until his phone buzzed with an urgent message about a manufacturing issue in their Singapore facility. "I'm sorry," he said, looking genuinely torn. "I need to make a quick call." She watched as he stepped outside, immediately transforming into the CEO, his posture straightening, voice taking on an authoritative tone as he issued clear, decisive instructions. It was like seeing another side of him, not better or worse, just different. When he returned, he apologized again. "Work-life balance isn't my strong suit," he admitted. "I get emergency calls from the hospital," she said with a shrug. "Some jobs don't fit neatly into 9 to 5. Isaac paid the bill despite her protest, then suggested a walk along the riverfront. The spring evening was mild, stars beginning to appear above them as they strolled along the water. "So what happens now?" Sophia asked as they leaned against a railing, watching boats glide by. "What do you want to happen?" Isaac countered gently. She turned to look at him. "I'm attracted to you. I enjoy talking to you, but I'm also aware that we come from different worlds." "Do we?" He moved closer. "We both work too much. We both care about helping people. We both hate cilantro." His smile was soft. "I'm just a man who wants to get to know you better, Sophia. The rest is circumstantial." "Nothing about being a billionaire is circumstantial," she pointed out. "Fair enough," he acknowledged, "but it doesn't define me any more than your job defines you." "I'd like the chance to show you that." Sophia studied his face, the sincerity in his eyes, the slight tension in his jaw that suggested her answer mattered to him. Despite her reservations, she found herself nodding. "Okay," she said, "let's see where this goes." The relief in his smile was palpable. Slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, Isaac leaned in. Their first kiss was gentle, questioning, a whisper of possibility. When they separated, Sophia felt something shift between them, a connection that transcended their different backgrounds. Over the next month, they fell into a rhythm of dinner dates, text messages during busy workdays, and occasional surprise visits. Isaac brought coffee to the hospital during her night shifts. Sophia left funny notes in his suit pockets. They discovered shared interests in hiking, documentary films, and trying exotic foods. There were adjustments to make. Sophia had to get used to the occasional paparazzi photo when they attended public events. Isaac had to learn that she valued her independence and wouldn't accept lavish gifts or special treatment because of his wealth. They had their first real argument when he tried to pay off her student loans without telling her, a well-intentioned gesture that felt like an overstep to Sophia. "I was trying to help," he explained, frustrated by her refusal. "You can't just throw money at things," she countered. "This is my debt, my responsibility. I need to know you see me as an equal, not someone to rescue." That conversation led to better understanding between them. Isaac learned to respect her boundaries, and Sophia became more comfortable acknowledging the reality of their different financial situations without letting it define their relationship. Their worlds gradually merged. Isaac attended Sophia's chaotic family Sunday dinners, charming her boisterous brothers and her skeptical father with his genuine interest in their lives. Sophia joined Isaac at corporate events, bringing a refreshing authenticity that his colleagues found disarming. 2 months into their relationship, Isaac invited Sophia to accompany him to Japan for a business trip. "I'll be in meetings during the day, but we could explore Tokyo in the evenings, then take a few personal days to see Kyoto," he suggested. "I've never been to Japan," she admitted. "But I don't want to be in the way of your work." "You could never be in the way," he said, taking her hand. "Having you there would make the trip infinitely better. Plus, there's a children's hospital in Tokyo using some innovative care techniques I thought you might be interested in seeing." The trip proved transformative for their relationship. Sophia watched Isaac in his element, negotiating complex deals with intelligence and integrity. She visited the children's hospital and exchanged ideas with their nursing staff, returning with innovations she could implement at Memorial. In Kyoto, surrounded by ancient temples and cherry blossoms, they had the conversation that had been building between them. "I think I'm falling in love with you," Isaac said as they sat in a peaceful garden, the setting sun painting everything in gold. "Actually, that's not right." "I know I'm in love with you." Sophia felt her heart expand in her chest. "I love you too," she said simply. "It scares me sometimes how much." "What scares you?" he asked, drawing her closer. "That we're so different, that someday you'll want someone who fits more easily into your world." Isaac shook his head. "You are my world, Sophia. The rest, the company, the money, the position, it's just circumstances. You're the substance." 6 months after that fateful speed dating event, Isaac proposed during a private picnic in the botanical gardens. The ring was elegant but not ostentatious, chosen with Sophia's taste in mind rather than to display his wealth. "I never expected to find you," he said, kneeling before her. "Especially not at a speed dating event I didn't want to attend. But finding you feels like the most important thing I've ever done. Will you marry me, Sophia Adams?" "Yes," she answered without hesitation. 1,000 times yes." Their wedding the following spring was a blend of their worlds, intimate despite the presence of some high-profile guests, elegant but warm-hearted. They wrote their own vows, each promising to see the other for who they truly were, not the roles they played or the circumstances of their lives. As they danced at their reception, Isaac whispered in her ear, "Have I mentioned lately how grateful I am that my assistant forced me to go speed dating?" Sophia laughed, leaning her head against his chest. "I should send Elaine a thank you note, and Mia too, for that matter." "Already done," Isaac said with a grin. "Wedding bonuses for both of them." A year after their wedding, they launched the Vega Adams Foundation, focusing on pediatric health care in underserved communities. Sophia left her hospital position to run the foundation, using her frontline experience to shape its mission. Isaac restructured his leadership at Vega Pharmaceuticals to allow more personal involvement in their joint project. Their first clinic opened in Sophia's childhood neighborhood, offering free and reduced-cost care to families who couldn't afford it. Standing together at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Sophia felt a sense of fulfillment that transcended her earlier career dreams. "We make a good team," she told Isaac as they watched children explore the bright, welcoming waiting area designed to minimize the fear associated with doctor visits. "The best," he agreed, squeezing her hand. "Though I think our team might be expanding soon." Sophia's free hand moved instinctively to her stomach, where their first child was growing. "You think we're ready for that? Not even close," Isaac laughed. "But we'll figure it out together." 2 years later, they welcomed twins, a boy and a girl who had Isaac's dark hair and Sophia's bright blue eyes. Their home became a chaotic, joy-filled place where business calls sometimes happened with babies on laps and nursing textbooks shared space with corporate reports. On the 5th anniversary of their first meeting, Isaac surprised Sophia with a return to the hotel where they'd met. The speed dating event was still running, though in a different room. 5 minutes was all it took, Isaac said as they sipped champagne at the same bar where they'd had their first real conversation. 5 minutes to change my life. "And you didn't even tell me you were a CEO, Sophia teased, the old joke now comfortable between them. "Would you have checked my name on that card if you'd known?" "Probably not," she admitted. "I'd have assumed you were out of my league." "I was," Isaac said, looking at her with the same warmth that had first drawn her in. "You were way out of my league, I just got lucky." "We both did," Sophia said, leaning in to kiss the man who'd gone from 5-minute speed date to the love of her life. "We both got very, very lucky." As they clinked glasses to 5 years together and many more to come, Sophia reflected on how differently her life might have turned out if she hadn't reluctantly agreed to Mia's speed dating scheme. One small decision, 5 minutes of conversation, and everything had changed, not because Isaac was a CEO, but because they'd found in each other exactly what they hadn't known they were looking for.